All right, welcome to the live, everyone. This is the Ask Me Anything Live. My name is Art, your host. Again, I'm a 20 plus year real estate investor. I've been doing real estate, residential, commercial, wholesaling, fix and flip, rent to own. I've done just about everything that you can do in real estate. And I'm going to be completely transparent. I've been successful at some and very not successful with others. It's just the way it goes. What I've kind of learned to accept in this business is that there is a lot of learning. And in my experience, there are some ways that you can make money in this business that will have you beating your head against a tree and you'll still make some money, but there's other ways that are a lot easier. The reason I did this live, let me just be completely transparent with everything. The reason I did this live is because I am hosting a webinar. And on that webinar, we're going to talk about something that I did and me and my wife did. My wife's name is Aisha. We've been real estate investors, like I said, for 20 plus years. And what we did was we transitioned from residential real estate to commercial real estate, and it made a huge difference. But we didn't just transition. I don't want to say it like we just stopped doing residential and went to commercial. What we actually did was we started buying residential and quickly selling it. We got a process we call quick turn. And we bought and sold residential real estate very fast, made a quick profit. We did not fix it up. We did not deal with tenants. We did not wholesale it. We actually bought the property and owned it. Then we turned around and sold that same property quickly for a 5 or 6 figure payday. Once we did that, then able to do that with the properties. We started to build up some cash, and then we used that excess cash to buy commercial real estate. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we did that and the process that we use still to this day to buy properties. So we buy properties, single family, and we turn those properties. They're not gut rehabs or they don't need major work. Most of our properties are either lived in by a tenant or they might be vacant for one reason or another. I'll talk about that in a second. And then we turn around and immediately sell those properties. When we immediately sell those properties, we get a 5 or 6 figure payday. We take that money and then put it into eventually putting it into commercial real estate. Now, and we're going to show people how to do that same thing. I'm going to explain what we do in very basic terms. And you can actually do this starting with no experience, very little money. We actually have a coaching program where we have students that do this exact thing. I've got a student named Yolanda who did $134,000 on her first property deal. And when she did that money on her first property deal, she came back and did more. And then she's eventually going to transition into commercial real estate. Before I get into all of that, let me explain really briefly why I am talking about this stuff, why I'm telling everybody what we're doing and how we're doing it, and what is my goal. My goal at the very end of all of this is to turn around and allow people to do this business, make some money, and then go into commercial real estate. Commercial real estate is a great way to make long-term money. I personally don't believe that single-family real estate is a good long-term investment. Single family real estate has its place. Single family real estate is something that you can definitely work with, but you should be buying and quickly selling single family real estate. And I don't think you should be wholesaling it. Wholesaling to me is it's nothing wrong with wholesaling if you know how to do it right. The problem is there are so many people flooding the market that are doing wholesale incorrectly and they don't know how to do it right. And then when they end up not doing it right, they turn around and they hurt the seller. So if you know anything about wholesaling, which I'm not a fan of, I did wholesaling before, but here's the thing: you get a property under contract, you tell the seller, hey, I'm going to buy your property, I'm going to do this much, and this is a ask me anything. So if you guys have questions about how we did it, we do $2 million a year annually in real estate profit, not what the houses are worth, but actual profit. I'll talk about that and I'll get into it. If you got questions, just ask away and I'll answer them. So we did wholesale for a while, but the problem with wholesale is once you start talking to sellers and you promise them that you're going to buy the property, you then go around and try to find somebody else to buy that contract from you and pay a little bit more. And a lot of times you may or may not be able to find someone to buy that property. And if you can't, then a lot of times you have to kill your deal with the seller. Now, the seller never knew that you were going to do this. And if they did, they probably wouldn't have gave you a contract in the first place. But what happens is you end up hurting them because they might have been planning on moving and ready to move and everything, and it turns out that they cannot move, and then you end up where you help them get into the house. I mean, or you help them, got them under contract, but then you never actually bought the property. So that's one of the things I don't like about wholesaling. That's why we don't do wholesaling. We actually buy our properties, and we buy every single one of them. We own the property, and then we quickly sell it. We have a process. We actually buy them on Friday, we sell them on Monday, so we can get rid of them very fast. And I can tell you a little bit about that as well if you're interested. If you've got a question about this, then ask away in the comments. I'm doing a, ask me anything, so you can ask about what we do in real estate. Again, for those of you that are just joining, we do commercial real estate. We transition from residential to commercial. We still do residential. I am not against residential real estate. I just use residential real estate for what it should be used for. I buy it and quickly sell it, make a profit, and then take that profit and put it into commercial real estate for a long-term play. There's a lot of benefits with that. When you buy and sell houses, you end up having to pay capital gains tax. And I'm not an accountant, not an attorney, so don't take any of this as financial or accounting advice, but you end up owing a lot in taxes. And this happened to us. The first year we started doing our process of quick turn, where we buy and quickly sell a property, we did about 800,000 plus in profit. And it was life changing for me and my wife. We made a lot of money. We had never experienced making that kind of money before. We had made money in real estate, but never that much. And the problem was when taxes came around, you have a huge tax bill because it's what's called short-term capital gains. And when you have a short-term capital gains bill, it is a large amount. It's like 30 to 40% of the amount of money that you made that you have to pay in taxes. And my first thought when this whole thing happened was, we're going to jail because I don't have that money. We spent it, but it ended up working out. We had to go through a bunch of hoops and jump through a lot of hoops. And I talked to my accountant because my biggest thing was, I don't want this to happen again. I love what we do, but this tax part is killing me. And we worked out that if you take some of the money the right way and invest it in commercial real estate, you don't get to beat the taxes, but you can actually defer the taxes. So you don't have to pay. Deferring the taxes just means you don't have to pay them right now. So here's the plan. You buy single family real estate, and you buy it and then turn around and quickly sell it. I'll talk about that as we go. But then once you buy and quickly sell the residential real estate, then you can take the profits and put it into commercial real estate, and you can keep that long term. And when you keep it long term, you get to defer the taxes. So think of it like this. Let's say I made $100,000 and my tax bill on that 100,000 was about $30,000. If I take that $100,000 and just spend it, then I owe $30,000 to the government. However, if I take that same $100,000 and put it into commercial real estate, then they will wait on their money. Now, they're not saying I don't owe it, but they will wait on it. And I can collect cash flow from the commercial piece of real estate, and I can still be buying and selling single family houses and essentially have two businesses. And I'm making money from the commercial, I'm making money from the residential, and I'm not paying taxes on it. So that 30,000 that would have went to the government, it gets to continue to work for me in commercial real estate. Does that make sense? And if I'm going too fast or I'm talking, you don't understand what I'm going through or what I'm saying, then just let me know in the comments and I'll kind of slow it down and break it down. So the way our process works, I show people how, and that's what we're doing. We're doing a webinar this Thursday. My goal is to get 100 people signed up on this webinar. So if you are interested, let me know. I'll put the link up, see if I can put the link up there. And what you can do on this webinar is that in this webinar, we're going to talk about how you can build the same business model, buying houses, turning around and immediately selling those houses, and then putting that money to work in commercial real estate. Now, there's a lot of benefits with this that I haven't even got into. The first thing is, when you buy into commercial real estate, because it's larger investments, you don't have to do it alone. You can do it with people, and you can invest as a group. That's beneficial because it helps you diversify some of the risk when you're going into commercial real estate, because, hey, it's real estate, and everybody knows real estate can be flaky at times and stuff happens, but it's a way to diversify the risk. The other benefit is that you don't have to have a bunch of your salary earned cash to do this. You can do it with profits from residential real estate, which makes it really profitable and it cuts on taxes. It's got a lot of benefits. So first of all, let me talk a little bit about how we do residential real estate and what we do with that. So we have a process to buy single family residential real estate. I do not rent real or residential real estate out. I don't fix it up. I don't deal with contractors. I don't deal with tenants. All we do is buy the property and immediately put it back on the market and sell it. You might be saying, well, how do you do that? How can you get rid of the property immediately because you bought it? There's no value in it. We get our value when we negotiate with the seller. We negotiate for we so first of all, we find properties that already have equity in them. If you find a property that already has equity in it, you don't have to worry about actually going in and doing sweat equity or fixing it up. You can actually focus on just negotiating to get some of that equity. I don't have to get all of it, but I got to get some of it for it to make sense for me. So what does that look like? That looks like a house that's, let's say it's worth $200,000. Let's use a round number, and the owner maybe owes $50,000 on the house. We would go in and we would negotiate with that owner and get, let's say we get that place at about 60 cents on the dollar. Now you're going to say, well, all right, how can you get it for 60? Nobody's going to give you that. There are all kinds of sellers that will sell you a property at a discount. And let me explain why. You ever heard about motivated sellers? And everybody talks about motivated sellers. I don't look for motivated sellers. It's impossible to find motivated sellers in any direct way because motivation is a feeling. Motivation is not a situation, is not a specific thing. What people do, a lot of investors, they tell you to go look for situations where somebody is likely to be motivated. So that might be something like they're in foreclosure, or they've got a tax lien, or maybe they've got city code violations, and they're looking for something that says they're like that. Because of this situation, there's a good chance they're going to be motivated. But the truth of the matter is, if you've ever talked to somebody in foreclosure, if you've ever talked to somebody with city code violations or tax liens, most of the time they're not actually motivated. Most of the time they're trying to save their house. They're trying to figure out whatever they can do to save their house, and the only way they're going to sell it is if they have no other options. And if anything comes along, once you get it under contract, they will drop you like a bad habit and they will try to go on with that next option. What we do instead is we look for sellers that have equity in their house. So people that have a lot of equity. So maybe they have no mortgage, or maybe they have a very, very low mortgage compared to the value of the house. We look for those people because those people, that number is easy to find. Motivation is a feeling. You cannot find, there's no list out in the world that says this is the feeling these people are having right now. But on the other side, there's definitely a list of people that are that have high equity. Once you find a list of people with high equity, you advertise to those people. Now, you might be saying, well, why would they sell to me at a discount if they've got all this equity? There's a ton of reasons. And really, to be honest, do you care why they sell? Do you actually care why they're going to sell to you? The thing is, they could sell because they live out of state and maybe they don't want to have an out of state property. Like they got the house and they moved, their job transferred them or something like that. Or maybe they inherited the house from a parent that died and they don't want to go back to the state to deal with it. They just rather get rid of it and get some money. Or maybe they were doing a rehab. It was somebody who was doing a rehab, and when they were doing the rehab, they couldn't finish fixing up the property and they ran out of money. That happens all the time. So when stuff like that happens, there you don't know what their reasoning is, and that's stuff that will never be reported on any kind of any kind of list. But that's stuff you can use to get motivated sellers to talk to you. Now, once you get them motivated, what do you do? Once you know that they're motivated, how do you know that they're motivated? First of all, the way you know they're motivated is when you market to people with high equity, they will raise their hand and call you. So if you've ever done any kind of outsourcing or trying to find sellers, you might have to call them or do cold calling, or you go drive for dollars. You don't have to do any of that stuff. You can simply let them know that you are buying properties, talk to the right sellers that have equity, and then the ones that are motivated will call you. So you can sit back and just wait for the phone to ring. That's pretty much what it is. When it rings, you will not only know that you've got somebody that's motivated, you will know that they're motivated and they got a lot of equity. So it's what I call motivated equity. It's the best thing in the world to have because there's a deal nearby when you see motivated equity. So the thing about motivated equity is that you just have to figure out what number to get them to sell it. What we do is we go through a negotiation process where our first step is to make sure they're motivated, and we have a process to do that. Our second step is to lower their expectations on what they will get for the property. You have to lower their expectations. Once you lower their expectations, they are open to talking to you and putting together a deal. Remember, I didn't say I had to get all the equity. I just have to get some of it so I turn a profit. And I'll give you a deal example. One of our students, her name is Yolanda. She worked with us and she followed our process to find deals. She followed our process to look for a deal. And when she reached out, she talked to a seller who had 3 condominiums. The guy was in Washington, D.C. He had 3 condominiums and he was sick of being a landlord. He said he bought them. He had owned them for a while. He had rented them out and he was just tired of the whole landlord scene. He had been through COVID. He was just frustrated. So she ended up working a deal. And these condos were worth about $130,000 a piece. But the guy didn't owe anything on him. He had paid them off. He'd had them for years and paid them off. She ended up working a deal. She bought the properties for, I believe, $60,000 a piece, each one for $60,000. Now, she bought these 3 condos. She had them for $60,000 a piece, but she did not have the money to actually buy them. What did she do? She ended up selling 2 of the condos to investors that wanted to buy them. She sold them to them for $90,000. She made about $40,000. She made about $30 or $40,000 actually selling them to those investors each. And then the third one, she used that money to pay off the third one. And now she's got a free and clear $130,000+ condo. And then she sold that free and clear condo and made a profit. That's a very simple deal. And that's something that nobody else would have saw. He wasn't behind on payments. He wasn't in foreclosure. He wasn't behind on taxes. He was just a tired landlord. And that's the kind of deals you can put together. I did a deal a few years ago where I found a guy who wanted to sell a property and we ended up talking to him. And he said, "Hey, I want to sell this property. I own it free and clear." It turns out that this guy didn't just own one property. He actually owned 27 properties. And we ended up buying 20 of those 27 properties from him. We paid a little under $1 million. We paid like $800,000, 830,000, something like that, for these 20 properties. When we bought the properties, to give you an idea, when we bought the properties, they were worth about $3.1 million the day we bought the property. So our equity was already baked in. We made over $1 million on that deal. We realized the money when we sold those properties, and we were able to sell those and still walk away with a nice profit. And this is, again, another guy that owned the houses free and clear. He was not behind on taxes. And funny story, we sold about I want to say 7 or 8 of the properties to tenants that actually lived in the properties. They were not bad tenants or anything like that. So we gave them the option to buy the property. They bought the property and we sold it to them. And the rest of them we sold on the open market to anybody and everybody. So I say all of this to say you can buy single family real estate. You can make great money doing it. But you should be buying it and selling it and then taking that money into transition into commercial real estate. Does that make sense? So if you all are following me, let me know in the chat. Just say something. Let me know that you're following along, that this makes sense. If you've got questions, ask me anything about this process. We are going to be hosting a webinar this Thursday where we talk about how to actually do this. And we're going to actually be showing people how they can work with us and do this over a 12-month period. So that is what we're working on. If you're interested, sign up for the webinar. I put it down below. I think you can see it. Sign up for the webinar. It's a free webinar. You can join up and you can talk to us about this, and we'll discuss how you can do this over the next 12 months. Now, you might be thinking, Art, this all sounds great, but I don't have great credit or I don't have the money to buy properties. Let me explain how financing really works in real estate. Financing is loosely based. You are used to buying a house like a house that you would live in. And when you're buying a house that you want to live in, then yes, you have to have good credit. You got to have some money down and all that other stuff. When you are buying property for investment, specifically if you are buying property to turn it around quickly, there are lenders. I'm not talking about hard money lenders. There are lenders that are actually going to help you buy it, and they don't care very much about you at all. What they care about is the deal. The problem is most people don't have a good deal when they go to a lender. What do I mean by they don't have a good deal? Let's take the attitude that we were a lender and we were looking for property. And here comes an investor that says, "Hey, lender, I got a property. It's worth $200,000 fixed up. Right now it's worth 100,000. I'm buying it for 100,000. I need 30,000 to fix it up, and I'm going to make $70,000 when I sell it because it's going to be worth $200,000. So how does that look to that lender? That looks like, here's a property that's not really worth 200,000. It's worth $100,000 right now. You want me to loan you the entire 100,000, plus you want me to loan you $30,000 to fix it up, and you hope that it will be. I hope that your contractors are good. I hope that you know what you're doing. I hope that the market stays with you while you own the property. And if all that happens, then I'll get paid back my money with interest. That's not a great deal. That's why lenders charge down payments. That's why they look at your credit, because they're saying if this goes south, which it very much could go south, then I want to be able to make sure I can get my money back. That's how a typical deal looks with the lender. That's why they want you to jump through hoops. Let me explain how one of our deals looks with the lender. Hey, lender, here's a property worth $100,000 today. I'm buying this property for $60,000. I don't need any money to fix it up. So here's the thing. I want to borrow $60,000 on a house that's worth $100,000. And if somebody fixes it up, it's worth $200,000. Well, that looks completely different to that lender, because they're looking at that and they're saying, okay, so you're saying I can give you 60,000 for an asset that's worth 100,000. So even if you don't know what you're doing and you screw it all up, I can get the $100,000, or I can get my $60,000 back. It's protected. So if that's the case, then yeah, that's a lot lower risk for me as a lender than it is to loan you money over and above what it's worth. So okay, how to register for Thursday? I will put the link. Here is the link. Sorry about that. Here's the link to check out the registration for Thursday. All right, there you go. I hope you can see that. So that's the link to register for Thursday's webinar. On that webinar, I'll be talking about this process in detail and how we can help investors that are starting from zero do this exact same process that we do, and go through it. It's very easy, very straightforward. It does take a little bit of time, but that's fine. You're going to transition from. So here's the thing: when you work with us, here's what you're going to end up getting. You're going to get money today when you buy and sell houses. You're going to make cash today, which is going to allow you to grow your business and buy more houses and support yourself. And then at the same time, you're going to put money aside to go into commercial real estate, and you're going to buy commercial real estate, which is going to give you long-term cash flow. It's going to give you money that goes for generations. And here's the thing: you can keep getting that money tax deferred as long as you don't take the money and spend it. Does that make sense? So what do I mean by that? If you buy a building, a commercial building or a commercial piece of property, and so I'll give you an example. We bought a building and we did a 5x return. So we bought it we did a 5x return on this building. We bought it and turned around and sold it 2 years later and made about $500,000 on a $100,000 investment. If we took that $500 and spent it, we would have had to pay taxes on it. But by simply taking that money and putting it into another commercial building, we could defer the taxes again by the commercial building. The commercial building, now that we put more money down, makes us even more money every month, and we can keep deferring the lump sum of cash. My plan is to defer lump sums of cash until I die, because there's no reason to take the money out. So that's the kind of thing we show you how to do, and it's not as hard as you think. It's not ridiculous or something that can't be done. It's actually a very easy process, and you can start with zero experience. You can start with no previous buying real estate. We can show you how to do all of that. It's all in how you set up your business model, and so that's what I'm talking about. So you start off buying single family houses and you turn around and sell them. Don't hold them for rentals. Don't fix them up and do rehabs. Think about it. If you do a rehab, let's talk about that for a second. If you do a rehab on a property and you turn around and you fix it up and make it beautiful, who are you selling it to? You are selling it to people that have excellent credit with huge down payments, that know they have everything in the world. Those people right now are sitting on the sidelines in this market. They're sitting on the sidelines saying, I don't know, the market might turn down. It's already started to turn down. Let's wait a little bit and see how low it goes. Instead, if you buy a property the way we're talking about, the property is not dilapidated or falling apart. It's just a not updated modern house. It looks like a regular lived-in house, and you turn around and sell it, you're going to be selling at a lower price than that rehab, remodeled, beautiful house. And if two people are looking in the neighborhood and they walk over to the remodeled house, they're going to say, this is really nice. This is beautiful. It's $400,000. Then they're going to go over to your $200,000 house and they're going to say, oh, this isn't bad. This is not bad. But for $200,000, I could buy this and clean it up myself as I want to and save $200,000 on what I'm paying for that other house. They'll buy your house first. You're going to have a larger group of investors or regular people that want to buy your house. You're going to have a larger buyer pool, which is going to let your house sell faster. Listen, the way I'm talking about doing real estate, it's all about how you put this together so that you make smart decisions and you don't put yourself in a bad position of risk. I have spent years making bad decisions in real estate before I learned what makes sense to do in real estate. Once I learned what makes sense, I did that and I did really well. And you can do really well too. We're going to, like I said, we're going to be hosting a webinar this Thursday. We're going to be talking about this exact process and how you can do it. Even if you're starting with very little money or if you're starting with not so great credit, you can get started. Now, the thing I do have to tell you that you can't do, you cannot switch up. You cannot say, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to buy these houses. And then 3 months from now, you're like, you know what? I'm going to rent it out. You are going to get tracked. I can tell you a bunch of people that did this and they said, okay, I got a really good deal on this property. I'm going to rent it out. Why would you rent out a single family house and make $700 a month when you can go into commercial real estate and make $7,000 a month? I'm literally giving you the way most people think. Most people will pass making $7,000 a month because it intimidates them, and they will stay focused on just making $700 a month because they feel comfortable with single family houses. You don't have to do that. And there's another thing. Now, some of you, somebody's going to ask. You mentioned earlier that you buy houses on Friday, sell them on Monday. How do you do that? So we use a program. We started a platform. We have a platform called Land Trust X. I'm going to put it in the comments. It's called Land Trust X. What is Land Trust X? Land Trust X allows you to buy and sell property immediately. You can sell it as fractional ownership. So think of it like this. You buy a house, you put it on the platform, and instead of selling the entire house, you sell a piece of the house, and that gives you some cash out, and you still get rental income from that property. So you can buy a house, sell, let's say 30% of it or 40% or even 70 or 80%. Keep 20% for yourself, get 20% of the rental income after the expenses for yourself, and then you got 80% of the money out of the property and you can go do something else. That's what Land Trust X allows you to do. It's a way to immediately sell a property that you are buying. And we're going to do a whole strategy call on how to do this. This is not something that is a scheme or something fishy. It's a way that a lot of people can make really good money in real estate immediately. Imagine being able to buy a house on Friday and sell it on Monday. And that's what you'll be able to do in Land Trust X. It's a way to sell fractional ownership of a house. You will be selling off pieces of the house as opposed to the whole thing. Now, what's in it for you if you do that? Let's talk about that really quick. If you do that, then you can turn around and sell pieces of the house. You can keep some of the rental income for yourself without even having to manage the property. Once you don't own the majority share, professional management comes in and manages the property, and you just get your cut of the profits every month. So you own a small piece, you can sell the other pieces for cash and get the cash that you want for your property, and then you can go buy more property, or you can go buy more property and put it on the platform and sell that property later on to other people. All right, good. Real G, good. I'm glad you registered. So this is a really good setup. This is a really good way to make money in real estate. And a lot of people are not looking at it. A lot of people don't care. They don't think that they have this option. But when you learn how to do real estate this way, so let's talk about in all, because I'm getting close to the end. I'm going to end this in about, another few minutes. Let's talk about what you are getting with this. You are going to learn, if you register for our webinar, you're going to learn the process of starting out buying single family real estate, quickly selling that single family real estate, and then putting that money to work either in buying more single family real estate until you build up enough of a cash cow or a cash war chest that you can use to buy commercial real estate. Once you've done that, you can invest in commercial real estate. You can build up a larger cash flow, and you can do it tax free. You can do it tax deferred, I should say. I don't want to say tax free. You do have to pay taxes, but you can do tax deferred. So it's a really good way for you to make really good money in real estate and build up a legacy. It's going to give you two things. It's going to give you money now, so cash now that you can use to build and grow and everything else. And then it's going to give you long-term money, generational wealth in commercial real estate. Imagine being able to leave your kids two buildings, or imagine being able to leave them cash flow from two or three buildings that you've built up over time. And you just say, hey, don't sell these buildings unless you absolutely have to. Keep them, and you've got good equity in the building and you've got cash flow. It's game changing for you and your kids and what you'll get. And you can do it all starting with very little money, because you're going to start off in residential real estate, and you're going to use residential real estate for what it's for, which is to turn around and sell it quickly to get money to put into commercial real estate and defer the taxes. So I hope that makes sense for you. If you got any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll put it up again. Register for our webinar for this Thursday. It is at 7 o'clock Central Time. You can register here, and we will be setting up with this to talk to you about how you can make this transition from single family. Even if you have no experience in single family, we'll be showing you how. We're going to pick 100 people to work with us in this group that comes onto the webinar. We'll pick 100 people. And here's the kicker. I'm going to show you how to work with us for 12 months. And I'm going to show you how to start with zero down. You can start with zero down up front. Okay. This is a way that makes sense for a lot of people. It's a way to get started. I'm taking away all the risk. And you can say, well, Art, why are you doing all this? Why are you doing zero down? And why are you doing this to help me get started? It's because I need testimonials. I've been helping people buy single family real estate and transition to commercial real estate for about 2 years now. Been doing it for about 2 years, and I need more testimonials. I've helped them. We've gotten the system down to where it makes sense. I need testimonials of people that have started from zero or started from low parts, and they've been able to build up and then get into making some money in single family and ultimately get into making money in commercial real estate. If that sounds like something that you want to do and you're serious about it, you're not flaky, you're not going to say, oh, I start on it and then I think maybe this will be easier, then this might be for you. And this is a way you can join the webinar. You can see how to transition from residential real estate to commercial real estate, and you can do it with zero upfront costs, zero down upfront, and you can start. You'll work with us for a year, and we'll show you how to build up a single family war chest of cash without dealing with tenants, without rehabbing property, and eventually transition that to commercial real estate. Okay. Does that make sense to you guys? Now, before we go into the webinar this Thursday, I will be doing another AMA, Ask Me Anything, tomorrow, and I'll be talking about this stuff again tomorrow, and I'll be going into a little bit more detail, but the real call is going to be on the webinar this Thursday. If you haven't registered yet, register now. You'll be happy that you did. You'll get some great information, and at the end of the day, it's free. Even if you work with us, then you'll start off with zero up front. You don't have to pay anything up front to work with us. We'll show you how to do that, and we're picking 100 people from this webinar so that they can get into our program and work with us for 12 months. And we're going to show you how to make serious money with single family houses without tenants, without rehabbing, and ultimately take that money and put it to work in commercial real estate. Okay. Hope that makes sense. Any questions for me before I jump off of here? Anything that I said that didn't make sense, or you're like, that sounds sketchy, or I don't know if that's going to actually work, or you can't do that. I love the people that are like, you can't do that because. Now, I've been doing it for years, but they're going to tell me you can't do that because, or in my neighborhood, it doesn't work that way. Any questions for me on any of that stuff before I get off of here? I've enjoyed talking to you guys. You guys have had great questions. You guys have been attentive and listened and learned. And I hope you are going to join us on this webinar. It's going to be a great webinar. We're going to be showing you the whole process. We have a 4-step process, 4 steps that we use to buy single family real estate. We don't have to cold call. We don't have to drive for dollars. We don't have to do anything crazy. We have a way that the sellers call us. And it's not just any sellers. It's sellers with a lot of equity that are looking to sell their property. And we negotiate some great deals. And once we negotiate those deals, we finance them, turn around and sell those deals, and then use that money to either grow the business or to invest in commercial real estate and grow our wealth. And we will be showing you that whole process. All right. Does that make sense? I hope you guys got some value out of this. I don't do a lot of lives. Maybe I should start doing more, but I hope you got some value out of this. I hope it made sense. This is a way to make real money, not this whole, you can just do this and make $60 million in 27 minutes. It's not that kind of deal. And if that's what you're looking for, this is not for you. This is some way to build real generational wealth that you can then make money today, so that you can build and then make money for later on, so that you can leave. You can decide to leave it to your kids. You can decide to stop doing the houses and just live off the money that the commercial works. And you can learn about Land Trust X. Like I said, learn about landtrustx.com and fractional real estate investment, how you can start investing in real estate with as little as $50 in landtrustx.com. Go to landtrustx.com. I think it's /investor, and you can learn about fractional real estate. Listen, I'm going to tell you a secret that nobody's going to say, because most people aren't talking about it. Buying fractional real estate is going to become the way of the future. Gone are the days of you take 20 or 30 or $50,000 and buy a single house and rent that house out. What you are going to be doing in the near future is you are going to be buying shares of property. That's what Land Trust X is. Landtrustx.com. You're going to be buying shares of property, and you're going to use those shares to actually get rental income and everything else, and it's going to allow you to diversify your money, so you're not stuck on one property. You're not stuck in one place. You'll be able to diversify. Think about it like this. When you're a landlord, what's the biggest fear as a landlord? The biggest fear is that the tenants don't pay rent. And if that's the case, the best way to combat that is not to pick the best tenants. You can pick a great tenant and they can lose a job and they become somebody that can't pay rent. It's something out of their control. The best way to combat that is to diversify across multiple properties. If I own a small piece of 10 properties, then if one tenant doesn't pay, yeah, it hurts, but it doesn't hurt nearly like if one tenant stops paying on my one rental property. You can take your same money, diversify it across 10 properties, and lower your risk of non-payment and have no management. It is truly passive income, and that is what fractional real estate is. So I gave you a lot of stuff. I gave you register for our webinar and learn about learn about buying and quickly turning property, which is our process called quick turn. Learn about how to buy and sell property and then use that profit to transition into commercial real estate. And I also gave you information on Land Trust X, which is a fractional real estate platform that allows you to buy shares of houses and benefit from being a landlord without having to do all the landlord stuff. And you can start as low as $50 a share with Land Trust X. You can sign up. It's in pre-beta right now, so you can sign up and you can get on board and get your account. You'll get some benefits and some discounts. Sign up and you can learn about it. All right, guys. Any other questions for me before I jump off? Did I cover everything that I needed to cover? I hope I did. All right. So if not, I will see you later. I don't see any other questions. I will talk to you guys on the next live. If you joined us today, you can join us again tomorrow before we get into the webinar. Again, if you haven't already, register for the webinar. I'll put the link one more time to register for our free webinar. We're going to be talking about how to transition from single family real estate to commercial real estate, even if you have no experience. And we're going to be talking about how to do that process. And it's not as hard as you think. And once you do it, I guarantee you will be happy you did it. It's going to show you where you're going to get the money for commercial real estate if you don't have it already. I'll say this, as a culture, we have to learn to do some stuff different. This world is getting tougher for you to make a buck in, and you have to do something different, and you got to stay ahead of the curve. This is a way to stay ahead of the curve. Learn to do real estate with transitioning from residential to commercial. Learn to get into fractional real estate. It is going to be a game changer. It's going to help you make a lot more and do a lot more with a lot less. All right. I wish you guys the best. God bless. And as always,